No one was more surprised than Alexander Macleod when his debut short story collection called Light Lifting was a finalist for the Scotiabank Giller Prize. He is the spawn of the man who wrote No Great Mischief, but he was unknown as a writer. So when Alexander finished his first book, his publicity tour consisted of driving around promoting his short story collection from the trunk of a car. It is my pleasure to welcome English teacher, fast runner, and fiction writer Alexander Macleod to Studio 4 to tell us more. Well, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. I hope it was a Rolls Royce.
Oh yeah, it was definitely, yeah.
Sure.
We only move at the highest levels. Yeah. It
When
was
you write
definitely not a Volkswagen Bug that was 12 years old. It was definitely not that car.
When you go on a publicity tour, you go big.
Oh, for sure.
In the Volkswagen Bug.
Yeah.
The 12-year-old Volkswagen Bug.
Yeah, and five-star motels. Is there such a thing as a five-star motel?
No.
Yeah.
You were in the no-tell motel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, writing's obviously in your genes. It has to be there somewhere.
I don't know if writing's in the genes, but I think that stories, probably storytelling is probably, we kind of come from an oral culture, I'd say. Lots of tall tale tellers in my
Take me to the dinner table, your house, 6 kids, mom, dad. Who was the best storyteller?
Wow, that'd be a title. I would not.
Dad's not listening.
Yeah, I would not want to award the heavyweight championship belt to anybody. It would be very controversial.
Okay.
No, the house is great. Like we were very much. And that's nice that you bring up the dinner table, because that's what it was kind of like that. It was a crowded table, and the news of the day would certainly carry you pretty far.
Politics, religion, philosophy?
No, just
Not
the
necessarily?
news of ourselves. I think that's mostly just trying to keep up with everybody. I have an aunt who lives in Surrey, and I was visiting her last night, and she was saying, "Yeah, the stories out of that house. Like, if you missed a week, it's like a soap opera.
Sure.
You would not be able to keep up with everybody's going.
But if this is your land, where are your stories? You know, and you had stories, and I think that is so important when you write. Certainly a short story, because you have to do it quickly.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. A short story is a quick read and often a long write. So it takes a long time to make it short.
That's so true, isn't it? Like Edgar Allan Poe said, the best thing about it, or something about it, is you can deliver all its goods to the reader in one sitting.
Yeah.
But when you're writing a short story, you have to get in, get out, and make sense.
It's hard. I think a short story demands more from readers. It has a different relationship. Like that says, I need you to do some work here, reader. I need you to carry a bit of this. Like a poem demands more of the reader than like a sprawling novel demands the reader's time. But a poem or a short story demands their attention in a different way. Like it's a certain sort of focus on language and things like that.
I'm sure, because you have to grab me right away.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no time to waste. Yeah, there's no.
I'm sure not. Now, Windsor seems to run through this book. The place runs through this book. How long were you in Windsor? How long did you live in Windsor?
Well, I lived in Windsor often. Our family was kind of split between Cape Breton and Windsor, and so I lived Windsor most of my school years. We would be in Cape Breton for 2 or 3 of those years, but most of my elementary and high school I lived in Windsor, and I did an undergraduate degree and ran track at the University of Windsor. So,
well,
and then I left.
And that is evident that you ran track in that first story, Miracle Mile, and we will get to it. But first, tell me about Windsor, because on the U.S. border, or really close, it's you must have had a different feeling about what goes on between the countries.
Yep.
In your town, too, you know, big union, big company town.
Yep.
Detroit not that far away.
Well, that's, less than a mile, less than a mile. So I think that living in Windsor gives you an insight into Canada in an interesting way. So I was found living in Windsor that I had a great sympathy or a great affection for Detroit, a great affection for cities like Detroit. I have no problem with Buffalo. I have no problem with Cleveland, Toledo. Those kind of Great Lakes American cities are closer to me than Ottawa. I would find like Ottawa very strange. I'd go to Ottawa and say, "What country is this?" Like not really familiar with.
But as you know, some
rhythms.
Canadians in those days wanted to be American. I don't know why. I am one. I'm a dual citizen actually. But do you know what I mean? They thought, oh, it's bigger, better down there. It's more fun down there.
Yeah, well, Leonard Cohen, it's there they've got the best, and it's there they've got the worst.
And that's true.
Yeah, and the hunger
as you
to be
know.
free. Yeah, yeah. So.
Absolutely. So take me to the first story, Miracle Mile. You are a distance runner. You competed in school. Miracle Mile is about really the friendship between two boys, Mike and Berner, but it's also about being on a team and being in the bus and competing and all of that. What's it about to you?
I think that story is about value, about how we can ever value something. And so you guys would know from the Olympics, or Vancouverites, I think, would have an insight into it, where figure skaters train all year. They train all year, they train for a lifetime, but there are moments of significance that are kind of public. Like, okay, now we're gonna go,
right.
Or hockey players, or I always think of bobsledders, somebody like that whose sport is not in the foreground all the time.
Right.
So Canadians really cared about bobsledding and luge and skeleton. For those runs, they cared about it for 40 seconds.
Exactly.
With full intensity, and the results mattered. But I'm interested in the people who care all the time. Like I'm interested in the people who follow the World Cup of bobsled this year, and they want to know what the rankings are in 2011. Everybody cared in 2010. Will they care in 2014, whatever? So I was interested in the way that everybody has, if they're going to have a meaningful existence, they sort of have to pour energy into the tasks that they care about. And in this case, the runners, they care about getting faster by those tenths of a second.
Of course, and as you know, you're not an overnight Gretzky.
No.
And the bobsledders have a little easier time of it only because they have a lot of guts, and a lot of them are track stars.
Yes.
You know, high hurdlers or something, and they pull, or decathletes, so they pull the team out of another sport, but in that sport they excelled.
Yep.
If you know what I mean.
I
Not
do.
that you don't have to learn to drive and be a good brakeman in a sled.
Right.
But it's you bring an athlete from another discipline and put them in a bobsled. Whereas in your case, as a track guy,
right.
You spend like every living, waking moment at some point thinking about it, competing, and liking who you're competing with, but not having much time for anything else. True, not true?
True. I think it's like a kind of tribal life, like people who do the same thing. So I see it in academia, like my friends who are physicists, like they're doing cutting edge physics work, but only 9 people can understand what they're doing. So I can sort of appreciate that they've had a success or a failure, or that things are going great or they're not going great. But only these other 9 would understand the significance of their gesture, which is the same thing with my guys talking about 336 being different from 339.
Yeah.
So Joe on the street doesn't know what a 336 is,
No.
but only the people who have signed over kind of a fair amount of their passion and their existence can perceive those.
Sure. When
so
you're talking about starting time or falling down in the blocks or whatever, I'm telling you, your girlfriend doesn't care.
Exactly.
She cares when she's in the stands watching you run around the track.
And passion is like that for anybody. Like I always stamp collectors or guys with model trains, or in the story I talk about. Suburban housewives who are trying to set the table the right way.
Right.
Like they imagine this is significant, and I can only participate. Like sometimes people do crazy things, and you say that is you're crazy. This collection of stamps.
Yes.
Craziness.
You're really crazy. You're cutting avalanches loose so that you can swim them.
Exactly.
Really, you're crazy.
Yeah.
In this particular story, in Miracle Mile, you boys, not you boys, now I think it's you, but the characters, that's how strong the character is, but there must be a little bit of you in there, are running through the tunnel, trying to beat the train. Really smart.
Yeah, not smart.
Not smart. With the rats in the tunnel. So set the scene.
Well, there's a rail tunnel. People know there's the Ambassador Bridge that crosses between Windsor and Detroit, but there's also a really kind of spooky rail tunnel where freight crosses the border under the river. And that is a pretty, it's an opening. It's right there. You can...
Sure. Anybody can do it.
Anybody can do it. And I was interested in that it's not even, it's such a huge risk, and yet there's not even like a chain link fence. Like you just go run in the train tracks anytime you want to. But these kids here, they're interested in that idea of being fast. So though it's stupid, they do it dozens of times. Like they never got hurt. So
by the grace of God.
by absolute fluke, and that's kind of what he's interested in there. Like, I have done this, and nothing happened to me, but I'm fully
immortal.
aware. I'm fully aware of what could have happened. Yeah.
Sure. The other thing that runs through light lifting, I think, is choice. You see choice as kind of the central drama in life, and many of the people in the stories don't we all make choices?
Yep.
But so many people have fear of making choice, fear of change. We have to make choice, as you know, but the fear of it.
Yeah, I find that decision is the central drama. It's the central drama of any life. And anyone thinks about this. Will I marry this guy?
Right.
Okay, yes. And then consequences flow from that choice.
Sure.
Will I come out of the closet? Or these ideas which you were talking about with Nassim about bullying, like, will I do this? How will I participate? How will I use the life force that how will I deploy it? Where will I put it? And so those are primal choices. They're not matters,
right.
They're not casual. So when people say, I'm going to do this.
Sure, because hope and terror really motivates all of us at some level, but sometimes it's not us. You know, in a split second, your life changes.
Yeah, yeah.
In you know, a few minutes, Nassima's whole family's life changed. Her life changed. Her son committed suicide. It's like you wake up in the morning, everything's swell. You get in your car, or you.
Well, that's what I admire so much about her. I admire people who make choices and stick with them. Like, this is not going to be easy. This is not the choice other people would have made.
Right.
But I am going to do this, and I am going to, I am going to carry this through.
No matter
not for
what.
you, not for you, and not for them, but because. And I think that those sorts of central personal decisions, those are the ones that that really motivate a kind of any meaningful action in the world. Like, nobody who's not motivated does anything serious.
And people that don't have the soul of a leader don't do it either. And sometimes you don't know till you're tested.
I think that's true.
As you
too.
know. Now, will you read something for us?
Sure.